We are going to be making pumpkin muffins. Oh yes, oh yes. And I'm just gonna give a warning here. Don't be like me. Make sure that you add all of your ingredients and check them off of your list, because I had all good intentions and I have some coconut oil melting on the stove beside me, but you're not going to see that just yet. So we are going to add these wheat berries. I am using a soft white wheat berry for this recipe. Also, I am going to double this recipe. I'm going to double everything, but I failed to double the pumpkin puree, but that is okay because turns out my dough was still a little bit too wet, so I'm not sure how another cup of pumpkin puree would have gone in there. You can use all-purpose flour for this recipe. And normally I do, but I'm all out of all-purpose flour, so I'm going to be using this fresh milled wheat, which I'm still learning to work with. And I do know that I need to allow this wheat to soak in the liquid for a while before I cook it. So I'm just going to allow it to sit on the counter once I get all of my ingredients mixed up. But I've already put in the bowl my 3/4 cup light brown sugar. So I'm just going to go through this recipe for you guys, the single recipe, not the double recipe that I'm doing. So you want 15 ounces of pumpkin puree, half a cup of salted butter, but I'm going to use coconut oil for this recipe, 3/4 cups light brown sugar, 3/4 cups sugar, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon vanilla, 1 3/4 cups all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon pumpkin spice, 2 teaspoons cinnamon powder, 2 teaspoons baking powder, a half a teaspoon or more fine sea salt. You can do 1 cup mix-ins like chocolate chips. I didn't do anything for this particular recipe, but I am just mixing up all of my wet ingredients and then I'm mixing up all of my dry ingredients. What I failed to do was remember the coconut oil that's on the stove warming in my cast iron skillet beside me. So I didn't get that mixed into my wet ingredients. I'm going to end up adding it after all of my ingredients are mixed, and I believe that I fudged this recipe a little bit, or maybe it's using the fresh milled wheat that fudged this recipe a little bit. I'm not really sure which one it was. Typically, these pumpkin muffins come out perfectly when I use store-bought all-purpose flour. So it could be either of those factors. So you'll see how these turn out at the end. And maybe you know exactly what I did wrong. I think I just overmixed them and added the oil too late. That's what I believe happened. But I'm going to let this sit on the counter after I get it mixed up, just so that the flour can really absorb, the fresh milled flour can really absorb the moisture in this recipe. I used some of the lard that I rendered with you all a few weeks back to grease up this pan, and then we are going to bake these at 350 degrees for about 25 minutes. And I'm also going to do a tray of larger muffins, and those are going to bake for about 30 or so minutes. But this is how they turned out, y'all. They are completely cooked. They just, I don't know. I don't know what happened here. They got little dents in the middle, and even the little muffins that you see stacked behind, those even have little dimples in them as well. And you know, maybe the oven was preheated. Everything was as it should be. So I don't know if it's the fresh milled. It looks like maybe I needed to let it absorb more. I'm not sure. Everything rose really well, but anyways, they were very tasty and we loved them, enjoyed them very much.